Hey everyone, I'm going to be going through which comic issues that I picked up for the date of the 2nd of the 4th, 2025. So it's for that week. As you can see on my pull list, I was a fashion school serial killer number one and pastime number one. But I also got Dick Tracy number eight, which took me a while to get to. That one was a bit delayed, and also there's a Valentine's Day edition that I also have as well. Oops, going a bit too ahead. Okay, so the one I've read right now is I Was a Fashion School Serial Killer. This is the first showing of that one. It looked interesting in the previews. I checked out the first look that was on majorspoilers.com. It just goes through like a couple of the pages to give the vibe of what the series is going to be like. And it captured me just with some of its panel layout and specifically the dialogue. I think the art's decent. I don't dislike it or anything. But yeah, it was more like the dialogue that captured me, and also the premise. So the premise is I was a fashion school serial killer, and where is it? So an accomplished designer and seamstress accepted into New York City's most prestigious fashion school. Renee hides an insidious secret, though. Her working materials include more grisly fabrics than cotton and silk, as her homicidal urges and artistry collide in morbid works of Vogue. So yeah, essentially, just as like a summary, just for those who haven't read this and maybe are thinking of picking it up, it is essentially what that is. Like, there's a fashion school that she goes to, and she also has serial killing tendencies and these urges, and she has to figure out how to make all of that work. Um, so yeah, I'm now going into spoiler territory. Check out these previews to see if you would enjoy it. Like I said, it's about serial killers, and it's got that kind of vibe to it. I wouldn't say the art really gives that darker aesthetic. I think the art is a bit brighter, on the brighter ends. Yes, there is like gore and death and stuff, but I would say the art's very much more about like the fashion. They want. If I get the vibe that he wants to also like appeal to the kind of fashionist, like the fashion kind of vibe, because that's what it's about. So it's not really going for like that typical like kind of noir-esque type of stuff that you normally get when there's like a serial killer involved or something like that. So yeah, all right. So spoilers begins now. If you haven't read it, look away. But yeah, I would personally recommend it because I did enjoy it. I thought it was a good first issue. I'm not really sure where it's going, but yeah, I thought it was a good first issue. Okay, now for spoilers. So off the bat, I just want to say the cover is pretty nice. I quite enjoyed the cover. The cover is this one. Yeah, I quite like it. I think it gives a good vibe of what the story is going to be about. Yeah, and the way she's like essentially like sewing people's skin and things like that. So I thought that was a pretty apt image for what the story is about. Okay, so one of the things that and the story is by Doug Wagner, art by Daniel Hilliard. The coloring was by Michelle Madsen, and the letterer is Ed Dukeshire. Um, and yeah, let me. Yeah. I think that's enough for that. Hopefully, I didn't butcher anyone's name. Now, one of the things I liked was a lot of the internal monologue. So yeah, there's a bunch of like kind of internal monologue, as you can see, like in orange, that goes throughout this series, depicting just her thoughts of like essentially what she's doing, the type of person that she is, the way she kind of puts up a front to other people because she doesn't want to show her darker side. Yeah, just things like that, and just the process of her getting admitted to this new school, and that's who that bold guy is, the person who's assessing whether she's worthwhile. Uh, and yeah, and so essentially she gets put through, and we start meeting like the new characters that she's going to be around. One of them being what's her name? Sophie. One of them being Sophie, and you get the vibe that she's going to be one of the key characters that maybe changes her in some way. Like at the start, she seems pretty annoyed by Sophie. Like she is kind of like this positive character who's kind of carefree, very opposite to her. As you can see in this image, she's dressed in all black, red lipstick. She's obviously also a serial killer, so um, she's just not the most sociable type of person. She's also very individualistic. You get that because she eats whatever she wants. Everything she makes is made by her, and she doesn't really give a crap about anyone. Like this girl with the blonde hair keeps trying to screw with her, but she just doesn't take it. And Sophie is pretty like, what do you call it? Enamored by her because she is, uh, yeah, because she is like that. Because she's not like that. She tends to cower and stuff. So, but yeah, you get the impression that Sophie is going to be like a pretty prominent character, especially with her being like the main person who gets introduced very quickly. So you get the vibe that she's going to be very important. I mean, one of the things that she says was, I'd grown used to being alone. I had no qualms keeping it that way, but then Sophie happened. So you do get the idea that she's going to end up liking Sophie, and that happens pretty quickly, actually. Like, we do get to see that. Renee, Rennie, sorry, which is the main character, she feels pretty reserved and stuff. But very quickly, because of how friendly and bubbly she is, she ends up looking at her with a bit more positivity. I wonder if that image of her, there is an image of her smiling at Sophie, saying, I'd never met anyone as friendly, giving, and loving as that girl. So I think that showcases that Sophie is making like a bit of an impact on her. But then she says Constance on the other hand, and that's that blonde girl that I was talking about. That's her. And that's making all of her urges kind of come out. So there's this page, this double spread, where it shows her scratching her hair, scratching her arms, scratching her chest, scratching everywhere. That's to show that she has these urges, these killing urges that she needs to get satiated. And Sophie even comments on that. She's like, "What are you doing?" So that's pretty interesting as well. Another thing to note is Sophie has, I think, a boyfriend. His name's Bodhi or Bodhi. And yeah, they seem to be pretty into each other. Though he does like immediately. Yeah, no, they seem to be pretty into each other. For a second, when she looks at Rennie, and he's like, "Who was that?" I thought that was like, "Who was that?" Like that he might be one of those player types, but I'm not. I'm not too sure about that. But I guess like Rennie, because of her style and the way she is, she tends to stand out. So maybe there's nothing to read into. Maybe I'm not. I'm not sure. Also Sophie has a friend. What's her friend's name? She's like bold. Um, what is her friend's name? I don't know. I don't know her name, but she, not much to say about her, but she seems to look up to Sophie quite a bit. And so Sophie's also not one of those characters who has a lot of money. She kind of started from the bottom kind of vibe. So yeah, that's basically everything about Sophie. Another character that stood out was the teacher of her class. She seems to have a lot of weight. There was a decent amount of panel time given to her, so I'm not really sure what that's about. Obviously, I think that means that she's going to have some sort of substantial role in the series. Um, she's not just a character who provides information about clothing and things like that. She also notices that one of the items that's in Rennie's hair, so the main character's hair, is made of bone. And since we know she's a serial killer, we know where she got the bones from, and it's pretty interesting. Like the fact that she noticed it, which I thought was it was just interesting. I do, I do wonder because she's the one who announces, I have bad news, my budding fashionistas. We lost one of our own today. Someone named Miss Tiffany Renesto has dropped out of our fine school. I just get this vibe that like Rennie is not the only serial killer in this space. that there is going to be another one, or there is going to be something also sinister. Like, it wouldn't really make sense for the main character to be the most sinister person. I'm pretty certain there is something else or someone else who is either just as sinister or worse. But yeah, she gets sick of Constance. She wants to take her out. She basically goes to do that, and she even like touches Constance's skin and says like, "Oh, like your skin's very smooth," and to us, obviously implying that she's going to take her skin off. But it seems like this security guard was hassling her. It's not immediately obvious what he did, but if you just think about it for like a little bit, it's pretty clear that he was hassling her because he's just a security guard, and then he grabs her arm, and then she says, "How dare you?" And then he says, "You say that now, but you'll come around." So clearly, like, he either has like feelings for her, or maybe he's like stalking her, but he's not respecting boundaries. Now, something that is common is, well, right after that, Rennie kills him, and she says like quicker than you deserve. And one of the other people that it's shown that she kills is also another man, and that other man was someone who seems to be like he was about to do, um, you know, he was about to, you know, grape her, and the and then she kills him. So like clearly she does have like frustrations and anger. She specifically says like rage, like that's like a important thing to her. Clearly she has like anger towards men who take advantage of women. I think that's a common theme. I know it only happened twice, but I feel like the purpose of showing those two instances and both of them being men was important. But at the end, we do see her essentially in like a bath of blood, and she seems calm. It seems like her urges have gone away, and she has skinned someone alive, and all of their blood is dripping. And she says, "I had to remind myself Constance wasn't going anywhere. I knew exactly where to find her. I mean, there's always tomorrow." So she's still going to go after Constance. She still hates Constance, finds her irritating. Um, it seems like she does seem to be a bit like protective about Sophie now that she's fond of her. But yeah, I'm very curious to see where this was going. Like, I was pretty certain as I was reading it that Constance wasn't going to be the person who gets killed in this issue, because it just makes sense to do the misdirect when you like keep building up Constance at the beginning as like this annoying character. This does make me kind of think like maybe Constance won't die, or maybe she will die. Uh, it sounds like, just based on the narration, that Rennie does end up learning something, right? Like she will end up learning something, and but I don't know what she's gonna learn. Like I don't think it's gonna be killing is bad, but she'll figure something out, something about connection, something to do with Sophie. That's the way it seems to be going, but it is very difficult to forecast the plot just based on what we got. But I do like the vibe of this. I think the main character is interesting. Sophie herself, I wasn't particularly interested in her, but I am interested in what she does for Rennie. But she also seems to be. I mean, there's definitely things going on for her. I also do think Constance is annoying, so I'm hoping she does get a comeuppance in some way. And yeah, Body or Bodhi, the boyfriend to Sophie, I think he's going to be important. I feel like all of the important characters for this series was introduced in this first chapter. So I think the character that I'm most interested in is the teacher. She feels mysterious. It feels like she knows more, especially with her being the one to notice that the that it's made of, like, that the hairpiece is made of bone. I feel like that matters in some way. I'm not necessarily saying that she's also a serial killer just because of that one instance. I just think there's more things going on with her. One line of dialogue that I thought was excellent is where was it? It was from her, and I just thought it was a great way to, I don't know, just illustrate like the value of fashion and the value of aesthetics and just the way people dress. And I'm gonna read it out because I thought it was really great. And she says, "I like to welcome everyone to Fashion Design and Materiality 101. I'd hate for any of us to start off on the wrong foot. Design, fashion, and the materials used to create them have been instrumental in representing every stage of human achievement. Even when you think of the ancient Egyptians, their designs and fashions are the first things that come to mind. When you think of the Greeks, the same. Vikings, feudal Japan, the Crusades, the Pilgrims, the Roaring Twenties, the 80s, design and fashion classify and identify every single one. Every historical period and event have one thing in common. They were all defined by a stitch. I thought that was excellent. I thought that was a real nice way to show like the way fashion can affect things culturally, how it can be like a symbol of a time. I thought that was articulated like really well. That's all my thoughts for this first issue. I wouldn't say I loved it because I was expecting like a bigger twist, I guess, at the end. Um, like she kills the security guard, and then she's like bathing in his blood. But I don't know, I just felt like the reveal at the end would be something a bit not. It wasn't a reveal per se. Just like what was going to happen. I thought it'd be a bit more poignant. Like I didn't think Constance was going to be the one to get killed. I just thought it would be just a bit more poignant moment at the end to like leave things off on, because right now it kind of, I'm just interested in the world, but I don't necessarily have a plot point that I'm like really excited for. So yeah, I thought it was. But that being said, I thought it was a good first issue, and I like the way the characters talk. I think the art's decent, and I'm very interested in the premise and the fact that it is focused on fashion and design and all that stuff, because I do like that stuff. So I think that's pretty interesting as well, and I also like serial killer stuff. So this is kind of a nice mix for myself. It fits my subjectivity well. Yeah, so that's my spoiler review for that. Hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I'll be giving my review for Pastime next, or it will be for Dick Tracy #8, or their Valentine's issue. Yeah, it'll be one of those three. Okay, thanks.